Part 295. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2941. Chapter 2941. You want to divorce me? Mo Yunchin looked at the brown pills in her hand, and her mood seemed to calm down in an instant. As long as I agree to your request, can you return Yu to the Mo family intact? That's right. You do what you say. Besides trusting me, what other choice do you have now? Tanya looked coldly at the man in front of her who she should call father, and said without any emotion in her eyes, besides, don't you want to compensate my mother? Don't tell me you changed your mind again. I haven't changed my mind. Mo Yunchin shook his head and said with a wry smile, I really want to compensate her, and I also want to compensate you. But I know that neither she nor you, mother and daughter, will want me. Compensation. It's good that you know. Then call your wife now and tell her that you want to divorce her. When your divorce procedures are completed, you can come back and take this pill, and your granddaughter will naturally be sent back. Mo family. Mo Yunchin said nothing and took out his mobile phone from his bag. When he called MRSMO, he hesitated for a few seconds. Tanya also noticed his hesitation, and a sarcastic sneer appeared on her lips. Why, don't you want to divorce your wife? You can change your mind now, but I can't guarantee the safety of the little princess of the Mo family. Whether your wife is more important or your granddaughter is more important, you choose for yourself. Mo Yunchin looked down at the screen of his mobile phone, and after a few seconds, dialed the number. He owed a debt to the late Tang dynasty, and he should make up for it. Everything happened because of him and should be solved by him. The call was dialed, and it rang once before being answered. Hello, Yunchin, is that you? Have you seen Tanya? Are you okay now? Is Yu in her hands? She didn't hurt Yu, right? MRSMO came over with an anxious and worried voice. She must have been crying for too long, and her voice was still hoarse. After Mo Yunchin listened to her without saying a word, he held the phone tightly and remained silent for a long time. Yunchin, why don't you speak? MRSMO's increasingly worried voice came over, revealing anxiety and uneasiness. Yunchin, did you hear me? I'm very worried about you. If you hear I've spoken, can you please speak out? I'm listening. Mo Yunchin slowly closed his eyes and then slowly opened them. His lips moved and he said in a difficult voice, Wenpei, let's get a divorce. I will arrange for someone to go through the divorce procedures now. I will give you half of the property in my name, and you will be able to live a worry-free life even if you leave the Mo family and me. What did you say? Yunchin, you want to divorce me? MRSMO's suddenly sharp voice was full of disbelief. Well, let's get a divorce, Mo Yunchin said calmly. No, I don't agree. MRSMO became emotional. Yunchin, I know what I did was wrong. I will never do anything to make you unhappy again. I will never interfere with Shishiu again, it's their business. I don't want to divorce you. I can change anything you're not satisfied with, but I don't want to divorce you. I won't get a divorce, I don't want a divorce. Yun Chen, let's not get divorced. Okay, I will change it, I really will change it. Can you give me a chance? Mo Yunchin listened to MRSMO begging him humbly. His eyes showed distress, and he hesitated for a few seconds. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2942. Chapter 2942 is my own decision. But in the end, he made up his mind. I've decided, let's get a divorce. Yunchin, why? MRSMO cried, is it because of Yu? I know what I did was wrong, and I will never do it again. I never thought about divorcing you. Once I marry you, I will be your wife for life. I don't want to divorce you. Mo Yunchin has doted on Mo for more than 20 years. Listening to Mo's inconsolable cries on the phone, his heart felt as if something was pulling at him. But he still made up his mind and said, "Wenpei, I'm calling you just to tell you my decision. I have already decided on the divorce and will not change it. After making this call, I will let the lawyer handle the divorce. If you have any other requests, you can put them forward now." Mo cried for a while, and then her crying gradually stopped. "You have made up your mind to divorce me, right?" Mo's voice seemed to have calmed down a lot. Mo Yunchin looked at Tang Ya, who was standing aside, thinking of all the things he owed Tang Wankaiu, and said in a heavy voice, "Wenpei, I'm sorry. Okay, I promise to divorce you. But you have to tell me why you suddenly want to divorce me. Is it because of Yu, or because of Tang Wankaiu? Wenpei, answer me. Mo Yunchin, are you insisting on divorcing me because of Yu or Tang Wankaiu? Have you met Tang Ya? What did she tell you? Did she tell you about Tang Wankaiu? Something happened. Did Tang Ya ask you to divorce me, or did you want the divorce yourself?" Facing Madame Mo's questioning, Mo Yunchin took a deep breath. "It's my own decision." "Did you decide on your own?" "Yes." "Mo Yunchin, tell me again, is it really your decision?" "Yes." "Okay, I agree to divorce. If you really want to divorce me, then let's divorce." After Mo finished speaking, she hung up the phone. "Has the divorce been settled?" Tang Ya looked at Mo Yunchin, who looked defeated, and asked indifferently. Mo Yunchin stared blankly at the blacked-out screen, with an indescribable feeling in his heart. "It's settled." "Is your wife willing to divorce you?" "She agreed." "Then you can ask someone to handle the divorce now." Tang Ya saw Mo Yunchin's lost look and sneered, "People from the Mo family must get divorced much faster than ordinary people. This matter will not be truly completed until you get the divorce certificate." Mo Yunchin raised his head and looked at her without saying anything. He picked up his cell phone and made another call. "It's me now. You go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Go through the divorce procedures for my wife and me." "You heard it right, do it now." After a while, Mo Shixiu ended the call and put the phone aside. "I've already asked someone to go through the divorce procedures. No matter how fast it is, I'll still have to wait half an hour." "Okay, let's wait until you get the divorce certificate and then we'll talk about other things." "I will do whatever you say, but before that, should you let me see Yu, otherwise, how do I know if she is safe now?" Of course. Tang Ya bent down to pick up her phone from the sofa, then clicked on a video app and threw the phone to Mo Yunchin. "Your granddaughter is sleeping well now. Wait until you finish what I told you. Someone will send her back." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2943. Chapter 2943. Are you willing? Mo Yunchin got his cell phone and finally felt relieved when he saw the little girl sleeping soundly in the video. He returned the phone to Tang Ya. "The person you hate is me, just come at me if you have any problem, the child is innocent, I hope you can keep your word." "Huh, of course I will do what I say, but only if you do what I say." Tang Ya took the phone and threw the box containing the pills towards Mo Yunchin. "I wanted to wait. I'll let you eat this after you get divorced, but I suddenly changed my mind. You'd better take this pill now." Mo Yunchin reached out to catch the box, looked down, then raised his head to look at Tang Ya, and asked in a calm voice, "What medicine is in it? Do you dare to eat poison?" Mo Yunchin looked down at the box in his hand again. Without saying anything, he reached out to open the box and took out the brown pills in the box. "Don't worry, it won't be too painful for you to leave. After taking this pill, you will fall asleep soon, have wonderful dreams, and then end your life in a beautiful dream. Tanya did not. An emotional voice sounded, Mo Yunshin, as long as you take this pill now, I will have your granddaughter sent back immediately. From now on, I will not hurt anyone from your Mo family again. Are you willing to trade your life for your granddaughters? It turns out that this pill is going to kill me. Mo Yunshin curled his lips and spoke in a calm tone when talking about matters that were crucial to his life. Xiao, if I can exchange my life for Yu's life can make up for the harm I've done to Wanqiu for so many years, and it can make you no longer live with hatred, so it's worth it? Then take this pill now. Tanya didn't believe that he really dared to take it, and sneered, Mo Yunshin, but do you really dare to take it? Are you willing to give up your current glory and wealth? Are you willing to be here? Everything in the world. You didn't go back because you couldn't let go of your status as the eldest young master of the Mo family. Mo Yunshin sighed softly. Although he knew that Tanya didn't believe him, he still explained, Xiao, I went back not because of my identity, but because of responsibility. For responsibility, ha ha ha, your reason is really high sounding. I know you don't believe it. No matter what, it's true that I failed Wanqiu and failed to fulfill the responsibilities of a father to you. I'm sorry for you, mother and daughter. It was Wanqiu who saved my life. I should be content with living for a few more decades. Now, just think of it as giving this life back. After Mo Yunshin finished speaking, he swallowed the brown pill without any hesitation. Boom. At the same time, the door of Tanya's study was kicked open forcefully. Dad, you can't eat it? Dad, you can't eat it? Mo Yesi and Mo Shixiu pushed the door open and just saw the scene of Mo Yunshin raising his head and swallowing the pills. The expressions of the two men changed drastically. The moment she saw them breaking in, Tanya's expression also changed. She subconsciously grabbed something and held it in her hand, then looked at Mo Yesi and Mo Shixiu with a defensive expression. Tanya didn't even see clearly how Mo Yesi got in front of her, and Mo Yesi pinched her neck. The cold air released from the man's body carried a biting murderous aura, and his long fingers pinched her slender neck, tightening inch by inch. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2944. Chapter 2944. If you want to kill, then kill him. What on earth did you let Dad eat? Mo Yesi's eyes were full of murderous aura, and his cold voice seemed to be covered with a layer of frost, so cold that people couldn't help but shiver all over. Tanya was pinched by his neck. She couldn't breathe smoothly for a moment and her face turned red. But she laughed loudly. Didn't you all hear it outside just now? It's poison, and you will die soon after you eat it. It's only a few minutes before the effect of the medicine takes effect. You two are filial. My son can watch with his own eyes how he slowly dies. Mo Yesi tightened his grip. Tanya, if something happens to Dad, do you think you can leave here alive? Tanya's face turned even redder, she couldn't breathe, and her eyes widened, but she still had a happy and relieved look on her face, and still laughed. Since I dare to do this, I have already done it. Worst plans. Yunchinj is the territory of your Mo family, the Mo family. You want to avenge Mo Yunchin, of course I can't do anything to you. Even if I exchange one life for another, it's worth it. My wish is gone anyway, so I have no regrets. If you want to kill, then go ahead. After saying that, she closed her eyes as if accepting her fate. Yasi, let her go, she is your sister, you can't hurt her. Mo Yunchin saw Mo Yesi tightening his fingers again, murderous intent overflowing from his eyes, and hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. I took the medicine voluntarily and it has nothing to do with Xiao. Mo Shixiu behind him had a look of extreme surprise on his face when he heard Mo Yunchin say that Tanya was their sister. Mo Yesi had already investigated Tanya, so he was not surprised after Mo Yunchin personally confirmed Tanya's identity. Tanya is his and Mo Shixio's half-sister, which he had already guessed. But even if it was his biological sister who hurt his family, he would never let her go. Mo Yunshin stepped forward and saw that Tanya's face was starting to turn purple and she was almost out of breath. He angrily shouted, "Yes, let go of Xiao Ya, you really want to strangle your own mother to death, sister? I already owe Wankaiu too much, nothing can happen to Xiao." Mo Shixia was also afraid that Mo Yesi would really strangle Tanya to death, so he also stopped him and said, "Aci, calm down and don't act out of anger. She has done evil and she will be punished accordingly. It's not worth risking your life for this kind of person. My sister-in-law is still waiting for you at home, why don't you even care about her?" Mo Yesi never let go, and the expression on his face didn't change. It wasn't until Mo Shixia mentioned Xiao Mian that the hostility and murderous aura in his eyes began to subside. Tanya slowly let go. Fresh air rushed into her chest, and Tanya coughed desperately. Mo Yesi stretched out his hand to push her away. She had no strength to stand still, and fell to the ground beside her as if paralyzed. Mo Yunshin saw that she was coughing uncomfortably and had tears in her eyes. He stepped forward and asked with concern, "Xiao, are you okay?" "I don't want you to worry about it." Tanya raised her head and glared at him with a pair of eyes that were red from coughing, refusing to accept his kindness. "Mo Yunshin, don't think that you can change anything with just a few words of false concern." Mo Yunshin's outstretched hand froze in mid-air. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2945. Chapter 2945, willing to accept this ending. When he met Tanya's eyes that were still full of hatred, he couldn't help but sigh and said with a bitter smile, "You said that what I took was poison, and I would die soon. I am a dying person, and I still need to be hypocritical. Who do you care about? Xiao, it doesn't matter if you hate me or don't want to forgive me." Mo Yunshin took his hand back and slowly stood up straight. "I said, if my death can eliminate the hatred in your heart, if you don't live with hatred anymore, my death will be worth it." Tanya was stunned. She didn't know what she was thinking. Her eyes flashed and she bit her lips tightly. "Dad, what nonsense are you talking about?" Mo Shixia frowned. "Aci and I will take you to the hospital right now." "No need." Mo Yunshin shook his head. "This is what I owe Wan Qiu, and I am willing to pay it back with my life." Hearing what he said, Tanya raised her head, with a hint of surprise in her eyes. Mo Shixia was anxious and angry. "It was Ms. Tang who saved your life back then. You said you would repay her with your life. I won't refute anything. But don't forget, your life was also given to you by your grandma. You paid it back to someone else, but what about grandma? What are you going to do to repay her? Since grandpa passed away, grandma has been in poor health due to excessive sadness. Do you want her to have white hair and give her black hair now? Have you never thought about her current health? Can you still withstand such a blow?" Mo Yunshin seemed to be suddenly awakened by something, and the expression on his face changed. Mo Yesi took out his cell phone. "I'll ask Lu Rao to get ready right away." "Dad, no matter whether you really owe Tang Wankai or not, you can't repay it with your life." At this moment, there was suddenly a burst of chaotic footsteps outside the door. The next second, a group of people in police uniforms rushed in with guns. "Mr. Mo, are you okay?" The leading police officer glanced around the room, saw Tanya still lying on the ground, and waved to the police officer behind him. "The suspect in the kidnapping case has been found. Go back." The police officers immediately stepped forward and took Tanya off the ground. During the entire process, Tanya did not move or ask anyone for help. She seemed to have expected such an ending and was willing to accept it. There was even a smile on her lips. When she was escorted by the police and walked past Mo Yunshin, she whispered, Mom still read your name before she died. I think she must have missed it very much. See you again. I buried her in the cemetery where she was born according to her wishes. If you still remember our friendship, go and see her when you have time. Soon, a room full of police officers escorted Tanya away. Mo Yesi's cell phone rang. He lowered his head and picked it up immediately. Mr. Mo, we have found Miss Yu. She is fine. We have not found that she has been harmed by any external force. Do we want to send Miss Yu back to Mo's house now? Call Mo's house to report that it's safe, and we'll send you back safely immediately. Yes. Mo Yesi hung up the phone, turned to Mo Shixiu and said, Brother, they found Yu. Everything is fine with Yu now, and we can all feel at ease. I think the sister-in-law wants to see Yu as soon as possible, so let someone take Yu back to Mo's house first. Now that everything is settled, we can go back. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2946. Chapter 2946. I can't let Xiao go to jail. Hearing that his daughter was safe, Mo Shixiu breathed a sigh of relief, and finally felt relieved. After he pondered for a few seconds, he turned his head and glanced at Mo Yunchen, who was beside him, who seemed lost. He thought for a while and said, I heard what Tanya just said. What she gave Dad shouldn't be poison. But to be on the safe side, I think I still have to go to the hospital for another checkup. Mo Yesi nodded in agreement, I think so too. From what she said just now, the pill Dad took was not poison. Brother, please go back to accompany your sister-in-law first. If something like this happens, please comfort her. I accompanied my father to the hospital for a checkup. Okay, that's it. Asterisk. The results of the examination showed that the pill Tanya gave Mo Yunchen was not poison. It is an ordinary cold medicine. Uncle Mo is in good health. There's nothing wrong with him. You don't have to worry. Lu Rao reached out and patted Mo Yesi on the shoulder, but I think he's not in good spirits. He seems to have suffered a big blow. He needs to have a good rest when he goes back one time. Asterisk. Mo Yesi walked out of Lu Rao's office and saw Mo Yunchen standing in the corridor in a daze, not knowing what he was thinking. Mo Yesi had already walked to him, but he still stood there motionless, looking towards. He was looking in a certain direction and not talking. Dad, the test results just came out. There is nothing wrong with your health. The pill you took was just a cold medicine. Mo Yesi told him the test results. Mo Yunchen slowly turned his head. What I took was cold medicine. Mo Yunchen fell into silence again. Yasi, Xiao didn't hurt you, nor did she hurt me. She just wanted to vent her anger for her mother and wanted my attitude. I already owe Wan Kai too much, and I don't want to owe her daughter or me anymore. Xiao is my daughter, but I have never known her existence. I have never fulfilled the responsibilities and obligations of a father. I was indeed sorry for Wan Kai back then, and I failed her. Wan Kai has left this world. I want to make it up to her, but I have no chance. So no matter what, I have to keep Xiao. When Mo Yunchen said this, he raised his head and looked at Mo Yesi. I can't let Xiao go to jail. Tanya did not hurt you or you, but it is true that she kidnapped you. Mo Yesi could tell that Mo Yunchen wanted them to stop pursuing Tanya, and he said in a business-like tone, even if she didn't hurt you this time, and there's no guarantee there won't be another time. What's more, even if I can avoid pursuing this matter, my eldest brother and sister-in-law will definitely not let her go easily. Grandma suffered a big blow because of Yu's incident, and she still hasn't woken up, and my eldest sister-in-law almost died several times. She fainted from crying. Even if she didn't hurt you, others were hurt because of this incident. I don't think anyone would agree to let her go like this. This is not fair to the elder brothers and sisters-in-law. Mo Yunchen's face changed slightly and his lips moved. It seemed like he wanted to say something, but in the end he said nothing. What can he say? He felt ashamed of Tang Wanqiu and Tang Yat. He wanted to make up for it and wanted to keep Tang Yat. But what Mo Yesi just said made him know in his heart that he couldn't protect Tang Yat. This is not his business alone. He himself may not pursue the case, but he cannot ask others not to pursue it. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2947. Chapter 2947. You can't run away in 3 to 5 years. Dad, if you really feel sorry for Ms. Tang and want to make up for it, you can go to her grave and lay incense sticks for her. Seeing Mo Yunchen's devastated look, Mo Yesi comforted him. Tang Ya said, she should want to see you again. Would she want to see me? Mo Yunchen's dim eyes lit up for a moment, but then darkened again. Yes. Mo Yesi reached out and patted his shoulder gently, as if to cheer him up. She has been thinking about you her whole life, and it must be her regret not being able to meet you before she was alive. Although it's too late to make up for this regret now, it's better than doing nothing. Moreover, this is also something Tang Ya hopes you can do for her mother. Asterisk. The old lady woke up. Except for her mental state, everything else was normal. Little Yu was also safely sent back to Mo's house. After Zhang Luli saw Mo Shixiu, he hugged him and cried bitterly. Mo Shixiu coaxed her for more than an hour before she stopped crying. Mo Yesi also returned to Mo's house after completing the examination with Mo Yunchen, but Mo Yunchen did not come back with him. When the old lady found out about Tang Ya, she was silent for a long time before sighing and saying, speaking of which, this Tang Ya is a bit pitiful. It's just that her actions are a bit extreme. Fortunately, both Yu and Yunchen are fine this time, otherwise. However, if she is really of the Mo family's blood and she didn't really hurt anyone this time, can she? Grandma Mo Shixiu handed the old lady a glass of water and interrupted her with a warm voice. Tang Ya did not cause any big mistake, but if we just let her go, I'm afraid the punishment is too light and she will think we, the Mo family, can be manipulated at will. I think this matter can be left to the relevant departments, and we don't need to interfere anymore. Even if Tang Ya is a bloodline of the Mo family, she should be punished accordingly if she did something wrong. Grandma, you have just woken up, and the doctors have already. You have to take good care of yourself and stop worrying about these things. You, the old man, just need to take good care of your health. If you are in good health, then we, the younger generation, can feel at ease. Alas, the old lady sighed again, with a hint of tiredness in her hoarse voice. Children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. I'm old and should really worry less. Okay, I won't care about your affairs. You are all grown up and have your own ideas, just make your decision. Asterisk. The old lady just woke up and said she was tired and wanted to rest. A group of people walked out of the old lady's room. Chiao Mian tugged on Mo Yesi's sleeve and asked him in a low voice, why didn't Dad come back with you? Mo Yesi hugged her and walked downstairs. He went to the police station to see Tang Ya. Will Tang Ya go to jail? Chiao Mian was more concerned about this matter. I heard that Tang Ya was taken away on the charge of kidnapping. If this crime is carried out, it should be quite serious, and you will not be able to escape for at least 3 to 5 years. If it is more serious, it can last for more than 10 years. No matter how powerful Tang Ya's background was, this was in Yunchinj, where she was arrested. So she will most likely go to jail. If Big Brother and the others want to hold her accountable, she will go to jail. I asked Big Brother what he meant, and he doesn't accept anyone interceding for Tang Ya, so Tang Ya will most likely go to jail. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2948. Chapter 2948. I also have a woman I love deeply. Alas, Jiao Mian sighed after hearing this. Her mistake was that she shouldn't have set her sights on Yu. So what does Dad mean? Dad wanted to plead for her at first, but now he has given up the idea. Mo Yesi, let me ask you a question, can you answer me honestly? Huh? Mo Yesi raised his lips and smiled, looked down at the little woman next to him, put his big hand on the top of her head and rubbed it. What do you want to ask me? Whatever you ask me, I have never told you. Lie. Actually, it's nothing. I'm just curious. Do you mind that Dad cares about Tang Yat and his daughter? Obviously, Mo Yunshan had feelings for Tang Yat and the late Tang dynasty who had passed away. If he had not already married Mo back then, and if he was single at that time, he would have married Tang Wankaiu. When I left later, it was not because I had no feelings, but because of responsibility. He has to be responsible for Mo. He must also be responsible for the entire Mahist family. In the face of too many responsibilities, many times, feelings can be given up. Even Chiao Mian could see that Mo Yunshan still cared about Tang Wankaiu, and she felt that Mo Yesi couldn't have missed it. But he didn't seem to care much about it. Is this what you want to ask? Well, can you answer it? If not, just pretend I didn't ask. There's nothing I can't answer if you ask me if I mind. My answer is I don't mind. Don't mind, why, after all, other people would probably mind if this kind of thing happened to them. Mind that his father has another woman in his heart. Moreover, a half-sister suddenly appeared. Chiao Mian imagined that if this happened to her, she felt that she wouldn't be able to not mind it at all. It was after Chiao's mother passed away that Chiao's father married Lin Huijin into the family, and Chiao Mian was also a little bit unhappy about this. What's there to mind? Mo Yesi curled his lips and told her patiently, Tang Wankaiu has passed away. Even if Dad still has her in his heart, he can't do anything anymore. Besides, Tang Wankaiu and those it's different from a third party who destroys other people's families. When she met her father, she didn't know that he already had a family. Strictly speaking, it was her father who deceived her and failed her. Dad was with her because he liked her. When he left, it wasn't because he didn't like her anymore, but because he had to leave. He liked Tang Wankaiu, and Tang Wankaiu was kind to him, and he didn't when he chose to leave. After pestering him, now I know that Tang Wankaiu gave him a daughter. He already felt guilty for leaving Tang Wankaiu, and now that Tang Yat is like this, he will only feel more sorry for Tang Wankaiu in this life. He will never forget Tang Wankaiu, a woman. When Mo Yesi said this, he looked at Chiao Mian with his deep eyes, with a soft light in his eyes. Maybe I didn't understand his feelings before, but now, I think I can. When he stared at her, his eyes were focused and affectionate. Chiao Mian felt her heart beating faster. Why can I understand it now? Because I also have a woman I love deeply, and I know what it feels like to love someone. Mo Yesi's eyes were deep, and his dark eyes were full of her shadow, and every word he spoke was touching and affectionate. Chiao Mian's heart beat rapidly. Obviously she was asking about Mo Yunshan, but how could it be that Mo Yesi was confessing to her? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2949. Chapter 2949. Pay the price for what you have done. Just confess your love, and make it so affectionate and formal that it made her heart beat abnormally. Ahem, Let's talk about these things at home. Jiao Mian blushed and glanced at Zhang Luli and Mo Shixiu behind them, feeling a little embarrassed. This is the first time Mo Yesi has confessed to her. But every time, she still felt her heart flutter. Mo Yesi also saw Zhang Luli and Mo Shixiu coming up behind him. He hooked his lips, put his thin-skinned little wife into his arms, lowered his voice and said with a chuckle, "Well, come back, let's talk about it at home. It's really not convenient to say some things here. When we get back and there are only two of us, I will tell you slowly, word by word." The man's voice was low, and deliberately a bit flirty. The words just now were spoken close to Jiao Mianmian's ear, with his thin lips pressed against her earlobe. As he spoke, his voice became lower and lower, but it fell on her ear. The breath beside him is getting hotter and hotter. Jiao Mian felt that her face was getting hotter and hotter. This man Mo Yesi is really, getting more and more deviant. Asterisk. It was a week later that Jiao Mian saw Mo again. Mazai called and said that there was something important to announce and asked them to go back. Asterisk. Jiao Mian and Mo Yesi arrived at Mo's house and found that Zhang Luli and Mo Shixiu were also there. Zhang Luli and the others also received the same call. "Baby, do you know why the old lady called us back? I heard from Shixiu that the second uncle and the others were also called back." Zhang Luli walked with Jiao Mian, holding her hand and asked in a low voice. This is the rhythm when everyone in the Mo family is called back. Something important must have been announced. I don't know either. Grandma only asked us to come back and didn't say what happened. Jiao Mian guessed in her heart that this matter was probably related to MRSMO. MRSMO teamed up with Tanya and almost harmed her own granddaughter. Even if there was a false alarm in the end, it was impossible to just pretend that nothing happened. Tanya received the punishment she deserved. MRSMO also has to pay the price for what she has done. The old lady called the whole family back today. It is estimated that MRSMO's punishment will not be light. After a while, several people walked into the hall. At a glance, Jiao Mian saw the old lady sitting at the top with a sullen face and a very serious expression. On the left-hand side of the old lady sat Mo Xingshu and the second wife, and on the right side sat Mo Yunchen. Just as Jiao Mian guessed, MRSMO, who had disappeared for several days, was also there, but she was the only one standing among them. At this moment, MRSMO no longer had her usual aura. She stood in front of the old lady with a pale face, her hands folded together uneasily. Perhaps because she had not had a good rest, she looked very haggard, even though no amount of makeup could hide the fatigue on her face. She is always well dressed and has exquisite makeup. It is rare that she puts on clothes casually, and even her hair looks a little messy. I don't even think about getting my hair done. This was the first time Jiao Mian saw MRSMO being so unkempt. Old lady, the eldest young master, first young madam, second young master and second young madam are back. The old lady raised her head and glanced at Jiao Mian and the others. She looked like she was not in good spirits. She rubbed her brows and said in a tired voice, "The children are back. Sit down first. I have something to do later I want to tell you all." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2950. Chapter 2950. Wenpei and I divorced. MRSMO's standing figure froze for a moment, and then her shoulders dropped weakly. After a while, everyone sat down, except MRSMO, who still stood there with a pale face. Now that everyone is here, I will start talking about things. The old lady looked at MRSMO, who was standing in front of her with her head buried in red eyes and silently weeping with an angry look on her face. She shook her head first, and then sighed. "I called all of you back today to tell you that from today on, Yunchen and Wenpei are no longer husband and wife." After the old lady finished speaking, Both Mo Xingshu and the second lady looked surprised. Mo Yesi and Mo Shixiu's expressions didn't change at all, and they looked like they had known about this for a long time. Chiao Mian and Zhang Luli had guessed something before, and their expressions looked calm. They had already heard about Mo Yunchen's divorce from MRSMO. It's just not clear whether there is separation or not. Now that the old lady has said this, it seems that she has officially divorced and has gone to the Civil Affairs Bureau to complete the relevant procedures. Only Mo Xingshu and the second lady seemed to have just learned about this, and looked very surprised. "Mom, what are you talking about? What do you mean when you say that eldest brother and sister-in-law are no longer husband and wife?" The second lady stared at Mo Yunchen, who had a heavy face, and then at MRSMO, who was weeping silently. He asked in disbelief, "Did the eldest brother and the eldest sister-in-law get divorced?" Mo Xingshu was also very surprised. "Mom, what did you mean by what you just said? Brother, you and sister-in-law, you?" Mo Xingshu turned around and asked Mo Yunchen. Under the gaze of a group of people, Mo Yunchen stood up. He turned his head away from MRSMO and said in a somewhat difficult voice, "Wen Pei and I are divorced. I will give her half of my property and the other half I have asked the lawyer to divide it into 3 parts, one for Yesi, one for Shixiu, and I decided to give the remaining one to Xiao." The old lady's expression didn't change when she heard the previous words. When Mo Yunchen said that he would give part of the property to Tang Ya, she was surprised and said, "Yunchen, I don't care how your own property is distributed, but you really want to give yours to Tang Ya. Part of the property should be given to Tang Ya." Although she is also a member of the Mo family, she did not grow up in the Mo family and has no feelings for your father. "You." "Mom, this is a decision I made after careful consideration. I know what I am doing." Mo Yunchen squinted his eyes and said in a deep voice, "My life was saved in late autumn. Not only did I not pay back, I should have made it up to her long ago for saving my life. But she has passed away, and the only person I can make up for now is Xiao. This matter is settled, and I will not make any changes." The old lady saw that he was determined and could not say anything else. It is true that Tang Wanqiu saved his son's life back then. The grace of saving his life was greater than any other kindness. Even if Mo Yunchen's entire property was used to repay the kindness, it was also appropriate. At that time, she had thought about giving Tang Wanqiu some money to repay her kindness for saving her son. But she was an extremely proud and courageous woman, and Tang Wanqiu was not tempted by that astronomical figure that others could only dream of. It doesn't matter. Let's just think of it as repaying the kindness of the past. The Mahist family never owed anything to anyone else. The only person who owed something was the late Qiu period of the Tang dynasty. End of this chapter.